This is the truth no one wants to admit. The greatest battles are not fought on distant battlefields, nor in the ruthless corridors of power. They are waged within, in the shadowed corridors of the mind, against an enemy we neither see nor recognize. Let's delve deeper into what or who this enemy truly is and how to overcome them. Imagine realizing that every thought, every reaction, every deep-seated belief you hold was never truly yours. What if the stories you tell yourself about who you are, your desires, fears, principles, were carefully crafted not by you, but by forces beyond your perception? Picture a man who has lived his entire life convinced he is free. He makes choices, he has opinions, he even prides himself on his independence of thought. And yet, everything he believes, every decision he makes, is a product of conditioning, buried instincts, and unconscious fears. He is a puppet whose strings he cannot see, a prisoner who mistakes his chains for protection. But the most terrifying part? He is his own jailer. Carl Jung warned of this very thing, the real enemy within. Not some external oppressor, not a corrupt society or political tyranny, but the unseen forces in our own psyche that shape us, control us, and keep us from true freedom. The ancient Greeks called it daimonion, the unseen whisperer that guides one's fate. Socrates, in particular, spoke of his own daimonion as a divine sign or inner voice, a subtle yet powerful influence beyond rational understanding. This concept echoes the idea of an unconscious force directing our actions, a force that precedes and shapes our conscious awareness. Nietzsche called it the herd instinct, the unconscious drive to conform and surrender one's power to the collective. This instinct, he argued, was a product of societal conditioning, a means by which the weak enforce their morality upon the strong. And Jung? He called it the shadow, the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge, the hidden fears, desires, and suppressed truths that, when ignored, turn against us. Look around you. The world is a mirror of the inner conflicts of mankind. The wars, the political chaos, the cycles of suffering, are they not merely external manifestations of the unresolved battles within? Each person walking past you in the street carries an entire universe inside them, a universe filled with contradictions, hidden wounds, and inherited fears. The real tragedy? Most will never confront this enemy. They will spend their lives blaming others, chasing illusions, numbing themselves with distractions. They will cling to comforting lies rather than face the unbearable truth that the greatest source of their suffering, their limitations, their failures, has always been themselves. But what happens to those who dare to look within? Those who are willing to descend into their own depths and face what lurks in the dark corners of their minds? Jung had an answer for that as well. He believed that only through confronting the shadow, through acknowledging and integrating the disowned parts of ourselves, could we ever hope to achieve true freedom. But to do so requires a journey, a dangerous, harrowing odyssey into the very depths of the soul. A journey few have the courage to take. So here is the question that you must answer, one that will define the very course of your existence. Do you truly know yourself? Or are you simply the sum of forces you have never even questioned? And if you don't, if the real enemy lies within, what does that mean for everything you thought you knew about life, about reality, about you? Let us go deeper. There is a strange paradox at the heart of human existence. We yearn for freedom, yet we fear it. We crave meaning, yet we sabotage our own search for it. We want to become whole, yet we run from the very process that would make it so. Jung understood this contradiction better than anyone. He knew that the human psyche is not a unified force but a battleground, a divided kingdom where multiple forces struggle for dominance. At the heart of this struggle lies the shadow, the part of the psyche that contains everything we reject, deny, or repress. But the shadow is not merely a collection of personal fears and traumas. It is also a reflection of something much older, something inherited. Generations of human experience, cultural conditioning, ancestral wounds, these too are embedded in the unconscious. Consider the historical context. The concept of inherited trauma is not new. In ancient Greek tragedies, the concept of hamartia, or tragic flaw, often stemmed from ancestral curses or inherited failings, suggesting a recognition of patterns passed down through generations. Similarly, the concept of original sin in Christian theology, while often interpreted religiously, can also be seen as a symbolic representation of inherited human flaws and tendencies. Imagine a child who grows up in a strict household where emotions are seen as weakness. Over time, he learns to suppress his sadness, his anger, his desires. He tells himself he is in control, that he is disciplined. But beneath the surface, his shadow grows stronger, waiting for the moment to erupt. Perhaps one day, he finds himself lashing out in uncontrollable rage, or he numbs himself with addictions, unable to explain the emptiness inside. The emotions he buried did not disappear. They became the enemy within. Society itself is built on this principle. We are taught to conform, to suppress our instincts, to play the roles assigned to us. But what happens when an entire civilization ignores its shadow? The suppressed fears and desires of the collective do not vanish. They manifest as wars, social unrest, and mass hysteria. Jung believed that the atrocities of the 20th century were not random acts of evil, but the eruption of the collective shadow, the unconscious darkness of entire nations made manifest. The world wars, the Holocaust, the genocides. These were not merely political events. They were psychological eruptions. The collective shadow unleashed. And yet, the most dangerous aspect of the shadow is its invisibility. The more we ignore it, the more power it has over us. The shadow does not announce itself. It acts through subtle whispers, hidden impulses, irrational fears. It is the voice that tells you to stay in your comfort zone, to avoid difficult truths, to blame others instead of looking inward. It is the force that convinces you that you are already awake, already in control, when in reality, you are sleepwalking through life. But there is a way out. Jung called it individuation, the process of integrating the shadow, of becoming whole by acknowledging and embracing what we fear most. It is not an easy path. It requires brutal self-honesty, the willingness to face uncomfortable truths, and the courage to question everything you believe about yourself. So ask yourself, how much of your life has been lived unconsciously? How many of your choices have been dictated by unseen fears, inherited wounds, and social conditioning? If the real enemy lies within, then what does it truly mean to be free? To answer this, we must go even deeper. We must uncover how this enemy shapes not just our thoughts and emotions, but the very fabric of our reality itself. Reality is not merely what we see, it is what we perceive, and what we perceive is shaped by our unconscious mind. Jung argued that our shadow does not merely influence our emotions and behaviors, it warps our perception of the world itself. The fears we suppress become the enemies we see in others. The desires we deny manifest as obsessions, projections, or blind spots in our worldview. The traumas we refuse to acknowledge shape the very fabric of our relationships, decisions, and interpretations of reality. This concept finds resonance in the philosophies of thinkers like Immanuel Kant, who argued that our experience of reality is shaped by the structure of our minds. Kant's Copernican revolution in philosophy suggested that we do not passively receive reality, but actively construct it through our mental categories. Jung adds to this by revealing how the unconscious, particularly the shadow, plays a significant role in this construction. Think of two people walking down the same street. One, ruled by an unconscious fear of rejection, sees only indifference in the eyes of strangers. Another, carrying unresolved childhood wounds, interprets every slight as an attack. Both live in entirely different worlds not defined by objective reality, but by the invisible hand of their shadow. This is how the shadow operates. It hides in the background, bending perception to reinforce its own existence. The more we refuse to see it, the more power it has to define our reality. This is also how propaganda and social conditioning work. By tapping into unconscious fears and desires, they subtly alter our perceptions, creating a reality that serves a specific agenda. But what happens when we finally recognize it? What shifts when we confront the illusions we have mistaken for truth? We must go deeper still. We must explore the tools and methods that allow us to confront this inner enemy, to dismantle the illusions, and to reclaim our true selves. The recognition of the shadow is not an end, but a beginning. It is the first step on a perilous yet profoundly rewarding journey, an alchemical transformation of the self. This journey is not about vanquishing the shadow, for it is an integral part of our being. Rather, it's about integrating it, transmuting its dark lead into the gold of wholeness. The alchemists of old, with their cryptic symbols and arcane processes, were not merely seeking to turn base metals into gold. They were engaged in a metaphor for psychological transformation, a process of refining the soul. Jung himself drew heavily on alchemical symbolism to understand the process of individuation. One of the key alchemical stages is nigredo, the blackening, a period of darkness and confrontation with the shadow. It is a descent into the depths of the psyche, where we face our fears, our traumas, and the aspects of ourselves we have long denied. This is not a pleasant experience. It is a confrontation with the raw, untamed aspects of our being. Following nigredo comes albedo, the whitening, a stage of purification and cleansing. It is a process of acknowledging and accepting the shadow, of understanding its origins and its influence. This requires brutal honesty and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. Finally, there is rubedo, the reddening, the culmination of the alchemical process, where the transformed self emerges. It is a state of wholeness, where the shadow is integrated, and the individual achieves a deeper understanding of themselves and their place in the world. To embark on this alchemical journey, we must employ specific tools. Active imagination, Jung's technique of engaging with the unconscious through dreams, visions, and creative expression. This allows us to communicate with the shadow, to understand its messages, and to begin the process of integration. Dream analysis. Dreams are the language of the unconscious. By carefully analyzing our dreams, we can gain insights into the hidden aspects of our psyche, including the shadow. Journaling and self-reflection. Regularly documenting our thoughts, feelings, and experiences allows us to identify patterns and uncover hidden aspects of ourselves. Art and creative expression. Painting, writing, music, and other forms of creative expression can provide a safe and effective way to explore and integrate the shadow. This is not a linear process. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and periods of intense discomfort. But with persistence and courage, we can transform the shadow from an enemy within to a source of strength and wisdom. The integration of the shadow is not the final destination, but a crucial step towards the emergence of the authentic self. This is the state of being where we live in alignment with our true nature, free from the constraints of conditioning and fear. The authentic self is not a fixed entity, but a dynamic process of becoming. It is a state of constant growth and self-discovery, where we embrace our vulnerabilities, our imperfections, and our unique strengths. To cultivate the authentic self, we must embrace vulnerability. Brené Brown's work on vulnerability highlights its importance in fostering genuine connection and authenticity. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the courage to show up and be seen even when there are no guarantees. Cultivate self-compassion. Kristin Neff's research emphasizes the importance of treating ourselves with kindness and understanding, especially during times of struggle. Self-compassion allows us to embrace our imperfections and to learn from our mistakes. Live with purpose. Finding meaning and purpose in life is essential for cultivating authenticity. This involves aligning our actions with our values and pursuing goals that are meaningful to us. Practice presence. Mindfulness and meditation can help us to become more present in the moment, allowing us to connect with our inner selves and to live more authentically. Cultivate meaningful relationships. Relationships where one can be their authentic self are important for growth. The emergence of the authentic self is not about becoming someone else, but about becoming more fully ourselves. It is about reclaiming our power, our creativity, and our capacity for love and joy. The journey we have embarked upon is not merely a psychological exploration. It is a call to awakening, a call to consciousness. We have explored the unseen war within, the hidden architects of our minds, and the alchemical process of transforming the shadow. We have seen how our perceptions are shaped by unconscious forces, how our realities are constructed by hidden fears and desires. And we have discovered that the path to freedom lies not in escaping these forces, but in confronting them, integrating them, and transcending them. This is the ultimate challenge: to become conscious of our own consciousness, to become aware of the forces that shape our awareness. It is a journey that requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to question everything we believe. The world we inhabit is a reflection of our collective consciousness. The wars, the conflicts, the suffering. These are not merely external events. They are manifestations of our inner turmoil. By transforming ourselves, we transform the world. The ancient mystics spoke of enlightenment, of awakening from the illusion of separateness. Jung spoke of individuation, of becoming whole. Modern neuroscience speaks of neuroplasticity, of the brain's capacity for change. All of these perspectives converge on a single truth: that we have the power to reshape our minds, to reclaim our freedom, and to create a world that reflects our highest potential. The journey is not easy, but the rewards are immeasurable. To live authentically, to embrace our vulnerabilities, to cultivate self-compassion, and to align our actions with our values, this is the path to true freedom. So, I ask you once more, do you truly know yourself? Or are you ready to embark on the journey of self-discovery? The choice is yours. The awakening awaits.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was insightful and educative. If you like this video, do well to click like, share, and subscribe for more insightful videos like this. See you later. Bye.